Lincoln and Jake Sullivan, but he's also said that the issue raised was about the safety of Indian diplomats. He said Indian diplomats are unsafe, publicly intimidated. That's the charge that was laid. And there was a compulsion. India was compelled to suspend visa services because of the actions what were happening on ground in Canada. More importantly, he's also touched upon an unnamed nation to the Western world, somewhere deterring from even taking the name of a very, very pesky neighbor, which in the past had enjoyed a lot of the West's patronage. You know who we are talking about, just like Dr. Jaishankar knew who we are all talking about but would not take its name. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam has now got the signature of the President, as President Draupadi Murmu has given assent to this bill. But very clearly, it will take some time to implement the bill or the bill to come into fruition, because we've got to get the census and the delimitation, and thereafter the allocation of these seats will happen. Perhaps, hopefully, by Lok Sabha 2029. Meanwhile, we're doing quite well at the Asian Games. 4th overall in the medals tally, 32 medals in our kitty, including 8 gold, 12 silver, 12 bronze. A gold in the 50-meter rifle, 3 position is by the men's team, gold by the women's team also in shooting. And of course, individual medals coming from the shooting arena. There's something that's also come in, the bronze that's come in from the track and field and shot put too. Meanwhile, India will also be upping its defense capabilities along the LOC and the LAC, the international borders, because there will be more Prachanda power that will be added. The Indian Air Force is going to buy 156 Prachanda choppers to bolster services of the forces, the patrolling of the forces, and support to the forces at the Pak and China borders. So LOC, LAC gets further refurbishment. Now we set up to the day's political debate, ladies and gentlemen, and that revolves around the I.N.D.I.A alliance. Is it all coming apart, even as it was just coming together?
एक को तौर तरीका है जी, एक को क्रिमिनल है जी, जिन्हों असी मिल चलने हैं। सारे दरवाजे बंद किए, सारे अफसरां ने अपने मोबाइल टेलीफोन्स बंद कर दिए।
एसआईटी पाती है कि ड्रग तस्करी में सुखपाल सिंह खैरा की इन्वॉल्वमेंट है और आज उनको अरेस्ट कर लिया गया है। फर्दर मामला ऑनरेबल कोर्ट के सामने।
पहली चीज़ तो मैं ये क्लियर कर दूं कि आम आदमी पार्टी इंडिया अलायंस के प्रति कमिटेड है और आम आदमी पार्टी बिल्कुल किसी भी हालत में इंडिया अलायंस से अलग नहीं होगा।
The seeds of separation, have they already been sown even before the marriage or the alliance had just been fixed? Ladies and gentlemen, the I.N.D.I. alliance formed by like-minded parties, like-minded in their opposition to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the BJP for the upcoming assembly polls in the 5 states and also the Lok Sabha elections in the next year, is in troubled waters. And there is a reason why we say that, ladies and gentlemen. Months ahead of the crucial elections, all is not well within the alliance partners, especially in the states. A committee of contradictions, that's what many experts had called this, because everybody is at loggerheads with the other in the states. So these regional satraps and some of these parties who want to get back into power, how are they even going to come together when they want to fight the big fight? The constituent parties that formed the alliance earlier, 26 of them, have not only differed on several key issues but have also drawn swords against each other, putting the fate of the opposition front in serious jeopardy. Sukhpal Khaira's arrest in the 2015 drugs case has just added fuel to the fire. The Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party are up against each other. While Congress is calling out the AAP's duplicity in alleging vendetta, The Man government is also citing police investigation. Punjab Congress unit has urged the top brass to break away ties with the AAP for the forthcoming elections, but the AAP convener Arvind Kejriwal has asserted that they are fully committed to abiding by the alliance dharma. However, without naming Sukhpal Khaira, Arvind Kejriwal said Punjab is committed to eliminate drug abuse in the state. The latest instance once again shows it's an alliance of compulsions, contradictions. There are also other discerning voices that are emerging in Bengal, in Tamil Nadu. You see what's happening between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, DMK and the Congress at loggerheads with each other over water sharing. Let's go state by state and try and understand this. Punjab, Khaira arrested over the drug case. That's the first part. Seat sharing in Lok Sabha and Assembly polls is a big question mark. In fact, you've had Bajwa coming out and saying 32 Aam Aadmi Party MLAs are currently in touch with me. He's also written to the governor over the current state of debt of Punjab. Where are we going to get the money? The other aspect, Delhi, once again Cong and AAP at loggerheads. No seat sharing, Congress not in favor of alliance for Lok Sabha polls as far as Delhi is concerned. तो यहाँ alliance करेंगे, यहाँ नहीं करेंगे, यहाँ अलग लड़ेंगे, यहाँ नहीं लड़ेंगे. It's a massive jumble that seems to be just brewing in front of us. West Bengal, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary has slammed the Trinamool over dengue death, saying Mamata Banerjee can go to Spain but is incapable of understanding people's pain. तो वहाँ तुक बिढ़ा रहे. वहीं left won't share seats in Bengal polls. They come out very clearly, but we are not sharing seats with Congress and Trinamool in Bengal polls. Kerala, once again, left will not tie up with the Congress in the state because there is the government and the opposition, two-party state. वहाँ दोनों आज जो लड़ेगा कौन किसके खिलाफ? How is it going to happen? And one will perhaps cannibalize the other. Uttar Pradesh, Samajwadi Party wants to contest all the 80 Lok Sabha seats, not giving a single seat in our state. So where is the SAPA going to help anybody else, anywhere else? Bihar, Nitish Kumar has slammed this entire so-called boycott of those 14 anchors, including yours truly. This move has been very clearly criticized by the JDU. Plus, there have been calls by the RJD also that Nitish Kumar is the best prime ministerial face, opposition face as prime minister. RJD backing Nitish Kumar and the JDU's calls. Tamil Nadu, DMK and the Congress are sparring over the entire Cauvery issue internally and of course with Karnataka where Congress is in power. Congress is upset with the DMK over this entire eradicate Sanatan Dharma call that's come out from Udayanidhi Stalin and Nandimuttu Raja. So, given all of this already, इस शादी होने से पहले ही टूट गई alliance broken even before it's come into fruition. That's the big question. Let's go across to our guest this evening, Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP. She's got a smile on her face. That's nice. Smita Prakash is with us. Namaste. Tehseen Punawala, smiling bright. Rashid Kidwai, good to see smiling faces. Hope we have a smiling, proper debate, sensible one, and not fisticuffs. Namaste and Jai Hind to everybody. Let's start with the journalists because once the politicians and quasi-politicians get in, journalists will not have a say. So, Smita Prakash, how much time are you giving to this I.N.D.I.A alliance? Or do you think they will all say we are united even if we are divided?
Well, yeah, united and divided, it's part of consensus building in any alliance, especially in a pre-poll alliance. So what are the stages? There's before and during there is conflict. Then comes the state of compromise. Then if that compromise works out, comes a consensus. And usually in a pre-poll alliance, the consensus will only come at the stage of power sharing when post-elections. I doubt whether it can be before, because the inherent pulls and pressures in any coalition is extremely tenuous. And the only method is that will work is a share in power. And that sharing in power can only be proportionate to the importance a certain unit has within that conglomeration or the coalition. In a pre-poll alliance like India, the largest unit is the Congress. So they will have to take the lead whether the others like it or not. The regional parties are not willing to give up seats. You just mentioned the entire list for the Congress. But the India Alliance's biggest challenge is that the biases, the ideologies, the vote banks, all that will have to be set aside in order to make a seat sharing arrangement. And like you said, Stalin and his anti-Sanatan plank will not be acceptable to, say, a Kamal Nath. Omar Abdullah will not give up the valley. He'll tell the Congress, you fight from Jammu. Then there is Mamta, there's Akhilesh and Lalu and Nitish, as you said. So in this entire grouping, to find a middle ground and being accommodative is not going to be easy. And the Congress being the largest unit, they will have to say that, okay, we will formulate some kind of a formula. Now for that, they will, obviously the results of 2019 will come up. They'll have to grapple with that. When they were bipolar fight, which happened in, I think, 186 or something like that, the BJP won and they had a strike rate of 91% against the Congress.
Right.
So obviously the regional parties will say, hey, you step aside. How can you? You can't take on Modi. You couldn't take him on in 2014. You couldn't take him on in 2019. You lost even in 2019 to 91% strike rate. So how can you decide? So that is where the problem will come in.
Right. But see, unfair on your part to say Omar Abdullah will say, tell the Congress to fight in Jammu. What will PDP do then? Where will they fight? You can't say there are so many people who want a share of the pie, Smita Prakash. Rashid Kejriwal, why did they have to do this Congress party? Bharat Jodo, success of Bharat Jodo was Karnataka victory. उसके बाद आपने कहा we'll go and patch ourselves with 26 parties who never wanted to align with the Congress in the first place. Why do this?
Yes, Anand. So I think whatever Smita Prakash has said, I fully endorse. Remember, this is not an ideological formation. This is driven by doctrine of necessity. It's a compulsion. All of them having, tried to fight Narendra Modi-led BJP, N.D.A in 2014 and 19 have tasted a defeat in one form or the other. So that's a binding force, as it was a case of the other opposition, BJP and left were part of it against Rajiv Gandhi and Indira Gandhi, etc. So in India, the coalitions have a very checkered history of staying on. The DMK's stand on Sanatan Dharma was very well known when Atal Bihari Vajpayee and DMK came not once but twice, thrice. So this is a very known story. These kind of ideological stand or, these are merely, I would describe them, Anand, as hiccups. Hiccups are there and the alliances are not formed in a process of accommodation and all. It comes from position of strength. Mamata Banerjee is holding a pole position because she won in Bengal. If she had lost Bengal assembly election, she would have been nowhere. Same applies, ditto applies to Aam Aadmi Party of Punjab and Congress, of course, post Karnataka, and depends a lot how it performs in Telangana and Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, etc. So this alliance will continue to make, Anand, lot of noises, but it will not break. It will not break because, again, as I said, it's determined by doctrine of necessity.
So you are saying this is that twig, that tinka, jiska sabko sahara hai, they, despite the fact that they'll keep trying to push the other's hand, they will eventually hold on to it. But why do it, Tehseen Poonawalla, before I bring in Sanju Verma? Tehseen Poonawalla, why do this? Why would you get into an alliance with somebody you can't even sit on the same table with? Why would you do it? And why would you, destroy your chances once again emerging as the national option? Especially after what the Congress claims was a huge success of the Bharat Jodo Yatra. You made, namaste. You made Rahul Gandhi walk all the way from Kanyakumari to Kashmir to unite the country at the time and somewhere remobilize and re-energize the Congress cadre. That was the ulterior motive under Bharat Jodo. And then you told the Congress cadre, whoever you are going to fight against and you are going to emerge out of, you may have to cede space to all of them.
Namaskar, Anand. Thank you so much for having me on the show. First, there is no dichotomy. Let me just explain this, and because it's slightly grey, let me just explain how this works. There will be an alliance in the center, not because you have to defeat Prime Minister Modi, as you said. I don't agree with that, because you have to take India and Bharat forward. Prime Minister Modi is not a personal enemy, it's a political battle. So on the union level, there will be an alliance that will take India forward with a vision of how India can be governed better from 2024 to 2029 and the mistakes made by the current government from 2014 to 2024. Point number two, at the regional or state level, and this is where I slightly disagree with Smitaji, for whom I have a lot of respect. Let's look at the states of Kerala, Punjab. Alright, so there will be a political rivalry between Aam Aadmi Party and Congress, or left and Congress. However, whoever wins, they will still be anti-BJP, whether the left wins or Congress or the Aam Aadmi Party wins or the Congress wins in Punjab. It doesn't affect. But if the Congress or the Aam Aadmi Party or if the left or the Congress give up that space in Punjab or Kerala, that vacuum will be filled by the BJP. Please understand, 95% of the problem is solved. The few discussions are in a few states left. 95% there is zero discussion. So in Madhya Pradesh, Congress will be the dominating party, but in Uttar Pradesh, it will be Samajwadi Party. That is understood by the alliance. One last thing. I think our voters are smart enough, because a lot of them watch your show, to understand that there is a difference between a state election and a union election. In fact, for the state of Odisha, Rashi ji will bear with me, where elections are held simultaneously. The BJD did wonderfully in the state election, whereas the BJP did well in the centre elections, but did not repeat it in the state election in the same day. So do not underestimate our voters. These are voters of Bharat, of India. Nehru's given us democracy, Ambedkar's given us democracy, and democracy will hold strong with the India alliance.
What the democracy and the constitution that Nehru and Ambedkar gave, Indira Gandhi changed during emergency. She changed the preamble itself. But that's a different conversation for another day.
Ask Modi ji to change it. Ask Modi ji to change it if he has the...
No. Why are you coming to Modi ji? I am saying what was said and done by our founding fathers. Since you quoted them, I am saying what was undone in 1970. We are digressing. Tehseen Poonawalla, the other point. We are digressing, Tehseen Poonawalla. The other point, Tehseen Poonawalla, is Samajwadi Party is saying we want to fight all 80 seats in Uttar Pradesh. If those 80 seats are gone, Congress ladega kahan pe? That's one point. Aam Aadmi Party is not wanting to cede ground to the BJP. Aam Aadmi Party is not wanting to cede ground to the Congress. Just like Congress is not wanting to cede ground to the AAP in Delhi. Trinamool is not wanting to cede ground, not because BJP will come in. Left wants to come back, it fancies its chances against the Trinamool in a situation where perhaps they believe there is an anti-Mamta thing. The left wants to revive itself and grow beyond Kerala. That's what they've been reduced to right now. So please, sir, please, I am already quite infamous within the Congress circles because I have often been misquoted. Please don't misquote me. It was not me who said that they have come with the objective of defeating Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It was the I.N.D.I.A alliance leaders who said our objective is to defeat Modi. Please, not me. It's their objective. Sanju Verma, I'll come back to you. Tehseen, let us speak, then I'll come back to you.
Okay,
yes,
sure.
Sanju Verma.
Sure.
Okay. Anand, I hold no grudges against you, despite the fact that I am the last person to be talking, in the midst of a rather vibrant discussion. Before talking about the ... alliance, I would like to tell you, when I got into JP Morgan, we were given training in Hong Kong, London, Singapore, the US, what have you. And I remember during one of the training sessions, the Asia Pac head of JP Morgan, he asked us a question, and we were all very enthusiastic investment bankers, dressed to kill and, to impress our bosses. He asked, if there's a bad product, how do you sell it in the market? हर किसी ने बड़े, लुभावने जवाब दिए, change the product, tweak it. Somebody said, do a market analysis. Maybe this product is not fit for category between 18 to 25 age group. Maybe in a different age group, this will, do well. Maybe the branding is wrong. Why don't we rebrand the product? Maybe the packaging is wrong. Maybe the advertising is wrong. Maybe the perception is wrong. Maybe the brass tacks of how we went about this campaign is wrong. सबकी बातें सुनी हमारे एशिया पैक बॉस ने. And then he said, the only solution to a product which consistently fails to deliver is, there's one word for it: replace the product. ठीक है? And why I'm quoting this example is because the fulcrum of the ... alliance is Congress, by virtue of the fact that it has 52 Lok Sabha seats in its kitty. And it goes without saying, the leader of the Congress, for all practical purposes, who calls the shots is Rahul Gandhi. Now, my limited point is, जो हिंदी में कहावत है, काठ की हांडी को कितनी बार चढ़ाओगे? How often will you launch, relaunch, relaunch, relaunch a product that has failed to deliver? I give them credit for the Himachal and the Karnataka victories, what have you. But despite that, in the last 9.5 years, out of 57 47 big and small elections. The Congress has lost 52 of them. And if track record is anything to go by, Rahul Gandhi should hang up his boots. But the fact that the Congress continues to be the fulcrum of an alliance which is so fractious and which is bound to come crumbling down, driven solely by the weight of its contradictions, tells you a story. And what is the story? I will take only 20 seconds without being verbose. The story is this. एक तरफ गुटकर अलायंस के ओमर अब्दुल्ला, who was even seen in the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
Right.
He's recently said that Congress does not need to fight all seats even in states where they are dominant. Akhilesh Yadav has thrown his hat in the ring and said that Samajwadi Party will contest seats in the Madhya Pradesh elections, but in the same breath he says we want to support the Congress. Arey bhai sahab, you are saying you want to support the Congress, but the Congress and the BJP, it's a bipolar war. You are throwing your hat in the ring, which means that you basically want to contest against the Congress, which is your partner. So again, there is a contradiction which is inexplicable. Right. Then you have Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary who says, Mamata Banerjee, I learned a new word by the way. I thought my Hindi is pretty good, but he said Mamata Banerjee 3 lakhiye kamre mein rehti hai. Din ka 3 lakhiya. Basically 3 lakh per day was the cost of that room that she stayed at in Spain, which is immaterial, that's besides the point. But when the state is dealing with 42,000 dengue cases with 38 people dead, while I'm no fan of Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, the fact that he called out a bluff again shows that while Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi and Mamata Banerjee are busy giving jadoo ki jhappi to each other, be it in Mumbai or Patna or Delhi, the local satraps are busy fighting with each other in no uncertain terms. And last but not the least, I think the cake is taken by Pratap Singh Bajwa. उन्होंने तो साफ कह दिया है 32 MLAs of the Aam Aadmi Party are in touch with me. And Anand, just 10 seconds. The Aam Aadmi Party strength in Punjab today is 92. If 32 depart, the Aam Aadmi Party will be down to 60. Just one seat more than the number of seats they need to be.
Please yield. Yes, Tehseen Poonawalla. I have to keep in mind your 20 seconds is not 20 seconds going forward. But yes, Tehseen Poonawalla.
That's what happens when you're from JP Morgan, who required a bailout in 2008. Jokes apart, Sanju.
Investment bank.
अच्छा digressing time 20 seconds. Tehseen Poonawalla 20 seconds. Please go ahead.
It was a joke. I did a joke, Sanju. Don't take it personally.
All right.
Okay, bad joke. But JP Morgan's decision was bad. But more importantly, I agree with one thing you said, Sanju.
God.
But I agree with one thing you said, Sanjuji. A bad product needs to be replaced. Therefore, 2014-2019 ka double bad product will be replaced by this alliance. Look, Anand, what I was trying to say and what Sanjuji alluded to, I'll end with this. In a federal structure like India, in this constitution which says that India is a union of states, you will have state issues where AAP and Congress will fight, where Samajwadi Party and Congress will fight. But on union issues, you'll come together on the larger objectives.
No, but that's where you're missing the woods for the trees. I'm sorry, I've run out of time, Tehseen, because they are talking about Lok Sabha. They're not talking about state elections that they're unwilling to yield. And they're already competing with each other. This is like saying, I'll punch you in the nose, but I'm your friend. I will slap you on the face, but I'm your friend. I'll kick you on your bum, but I'm your friend. That's what is going. That's exactly what's happening right now. And this is going to only create harakiri. Because if you want to emerge as a single largest opposition or a voice that is going to challenge the ruling disposition, you should have capitalized on a particular momentum that you thought you had, where you believed you had energized your cadre across multiple states where Congress was on the wane. Really saying, there needs to be a hard look at the decision that was taken. Should this comedy of contradictions have really happened ahead of 2024? To the ladies and the gentlemen, thank you very much. I have to wind up. We've got a very special broadcast coming up. So making way for that, here on the right stand, where those who have fought this deadly disease come back and tell us, yes, you can fight. Yes, we can be united against cancer. Stay with us on this very, very special Sanjeevani broadcast coming up.
Khaira!
ಆನಗಟ್ಟೆ 28 ಸಂಸದರಿಗೆ, ಆನಗಟ್ಟೆ ಸಂಸದ ಡಿ.ಕೆ. ಸುರೇಶ್ಗೆ, ಸಂಸದ ಡಿ.ಕೆ. ಸುರೇಶ್ಗೆ ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು. ಮರ್ಯಾದೆ ಇಲ್ಲದ 28 ಸಂಸದರಿಗೆ, ಮರ್ಯಾದೆ ಇಲ್ಲದ 28 ಸಂಸದರಿಗೆ ತೊಲಗಲಿ, 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 ತೊಲಗಲಿ. ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು. ತಮಿಳುನಾಡಿಗೆ ನೀರು ಬಿಡುತ್ತಿರುವ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಸರ್ಕಾರ
ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ನೀವು ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಸರ್ಕಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಸರ್ಕಲ್ ಕಾವೇರಿ ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತನಾಡದ ಎಂಪಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಶಿವಣ್ಣ ಮುಂದ್ಕೊಡಪ್ಪ. ಶಿವಣ್ಣ ಬಂದವನ
ಎಂಪಿ ಕೊಡೋದು
28 ಸಂಸದರಿಗೆ, 28 ಸಂಸದರಿಗೆ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಧ್ವನಿ ಎತ್ತದ ಸಂಸದರಿಗೆ, ಪರವಾಗಿ ಧ್ವನಿ ಎತ್ತದ ಸಂಸದರಿಗೆ, ಸಂಸದರಿಗೆ ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು. ಅಯ್ಯಯ್ಯೋ, ಅಯ್ಯಯ್ಯೋ, ಮಧ್ಯಸ್ಥಿಕೆ ವಹಿಸದ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ, ಕಾವೇರಿ ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಧ್ಯಸ್ಥಿಕೆ ವಹಿಸದ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು. ಸರ್ಕಾರವಂತೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರ, ಸರ್ಕಾರವಂತೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರ, ಕಾನೂನಂತೆ ಕಾನೂನು, ಕಾನೂನಂತೆ ಕಾನೂನು. ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು. ಕಾವೇರಿ ಕಾವೇರಿ ಕಾವೇರಿ. 28 ಸಂಸದರಿಗೆ, 28 ಸಂಸದ
ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ನಮ್ಮವಳು, 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 ನಮ್ಮವಳು. ಹೇಳು ಧಿಕ್ಕಾರ, ನಮ್ಮವಳು, 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 ನಮ್ಮವಳು. ಪತ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ನಡೀತೈತಿ. ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಲೇಬೇಕು, ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಲೇಬೇಕು, ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಲೇಬೇಕು. ಕಾವೇರಿ ನಮ್ಮದು, ನಮ್ಮದು, ನಮ್ಮದು. ಕಾವೇರಿ ನಮ್ಮದು, ನಮ್ಮದು, ನಮ್ಮದು. ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ನ್ಯಾಯ ಬೇಕು, ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ನ್ಯಾಯ ಬೇಕು. ಎಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ಹೋರಾಟ, ಎಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ಹೋರಾಟ, ಏತಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಹೋರಾಟ, ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಹೋರಾಟ. ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ನ್ಯಾಯ ಬೇಕು, ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ನ್ಯಾಯ ಬೇಕು.
ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ಎತ್ತಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಹೋರಾಟ, ಎಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಹೋರಾಟ.
ಬೇಕೇ ಬೇಕು, ಬೇಕು, ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಲೇಬೇಕು, 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 ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಲೇಬೇಕು. ಕಾವೇರಿ ನೀರನ್ನು ತಡೆಗಟ್ಟಲೇಬೇಕು, ತಡೆಗಟ್ಟಲೇಬೇಕು, ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಲೇಬೇಕು, ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಲೇಬೇಕು. ಕಾವೇರಿ ನೀರನ್ನು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಲೇಬೇಕು, ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಲೇಬೇಕು, ತಡೆಗಟ್ಟಲೇಬೇಕು, ತಡೆಗಟ್ಟಲೇಬೇಕು. ಕಾವೇರಿ ನೀರು 130 ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಒಂದು ಸಾವು ಹೊಂಟ್ರು ಬೇಕು.
you've been through as well. Yeah, so, I think that cancer as a disease is also so multi-layered, and I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding. There's so many different types of cancers, and each cancer comes with its own prognosis, diagnosis. It's actually all put in one bucket, but they're very different. And the point of that is that each patient, their journey is so incredibly individual. And I guess for me, when I was diagnosed, I was 37. And you might say I was riding on a bit of a high in life. At the same time, I was ignoring a lot of the signals that my body was giving me. Okay. And, like everyone, I was had fallen prey to that hustle culture. And if I was feeling really fatigued, I would just, maybe cut out my rice, drink more coffee. But, I'd do anything except go to the doctor, which is my bad. And finally, I couldn't ignore the signs. And, the investigations led to me being diagnosed with multiple myeloma. And it just so happened that everything coincided. I was diagnosed in August of 2009, and I had a film coming out in the Toronto Film Festival in September 2009. So I was obviously put in a very strange situation because I immediately started treatment, and part of my treatment was steroids, very, very heavy steroids, and anyone who's been on steroids knows that they will actually change your appearance. So I bloated up, I was 40 pounds overweight, and that's not a big deal when you're saving your life, but when you have to step on the red carpet, it's a bit of a big deal. So I had to make a very quick choice about whether I hide or I could actually use this particular event of being on the red carpet, which is often used to talk about glamour or film release, or in the case of women, often women are criticized and, basically torn apart, on the red carpet. I realized that I could actually subvert that moment to, first of all, talk about my cancer, which is a very relatively rarer cancer. You might call it an orphan cancer. And as we all know in the cancer community, the louder, more strident cancers get more research money and more attention. So I realized maybe, even though I was grappling with this really distressing situation, I thought maybe I can actually use this situation, first of all, to bring a little bit of attention to my cancer. Second of all, I felt like maybe it will break this stigma, because I personally could not understand why everybody around me was advising me not to speak about my cancer publicly. It didn't make any sense, because first of all, I didn't feel I was to blame. And then second of all, we know that cancer is something that is becoming more epidemic. Yes. Everybody knows someone who's affected. So why are we pretending? Why are we hiding this? Where does the shame come from? And the third question, which was even more deeply personal, was I had actually always felt very deeply uncomfortable on the red carpet. I didn't feel I belonged there. I didn't like being, critiqued and pulled apart as a woman, or simply only judged on my appearance. So I felt that I could take all of these three factors and put them together, stand on the red carpet, 40 pounds heavier than my normal weight, but actually feel very empowered by this moment. And, when I wrote my book about it, I said that actually my shoes don't fit because my feet were so swollen, but ironically I actually stepped into my body in that moment. And it also gave me purpose. When you're fighting cancer, for me personally, I guess I needed to also find a greater purpose, something larger than myself, also to distract myself. So to be honest, it wasn't courage. It was all of those reasons.
But it still was a lot of gumption to be able to do that. And if I may just quickly back to you, Lisa, on the relapse that happened in 2012, that's a double whammy. Now, how do you deal with that? Okay, you found the courage, the grit, the determination to fight it once. How do you fight it again? What went through you then?
So the second round was obviously significantly different. I'd learned so much more about myself, my disease. And I just felt, because the first one was a huge slap in the face, because it was sudden and dramatic. The second, when I relapsed, we were monitoring my protein levels in my blood, the protein marker in my blood, so I could see slowly the relapse was happening. So my oncologist sort of prepared me. She said, you have to go in for treatment again. And in my case, it often means a stem cell transplant, which is not a picnic, not something I would actually advise. But I just felt deep inside that, look, I'm missing some part of the puzzle. Like there is a message coming to me beyond myself. Secondly, I just gotten married. So I was like, I have to fight this disease. Otherwise, my husband's going to want a refund very quickly. Like we had literally just gone through the shadi, everything like that, setting up a new house, etc. I don't know where, I mean, you could say that I have a quality that, you know, my mother would have argued was very irritating, but has somewhere come in handy. I'm very stubborn. I'm very stubborn, so when I see a challenge, I refuse to back down. And I think that I understood with my relapse that my body, again, was trying to communicate something to me. So what I ended up doing, that's when I ended up taking the holistic world, or what we call complementary, alternative, I don't know the exact terminology you want to use, that I'm aligned with, and mix that very, you know, and mesh that with allopathic medicine. Okay. Because I decided to go back on maintenance therapy, so I was taking the drugs that my oncologist advised, but I also went off and changed my lifestyle, you know. I mean, it's very enlightening to hear also, like the way that Luke described it, you know, of enmeshing the two. That really is something that somehow or the other I stumbled upon through trial and error. And I went off to a retreat center called the Hippocrates Health Institute. And, you know, this is a very famous thing. I know it's been said before, but it bears saying again that Hippocrates, you know, all the doctors take the Hippocratic Oath, right? In order not to harm patients, etc. But Hippocrates apparently very famously said, let food be thy medicine. And we don't talk about that enough. And so in this center, I learned a lot more about, you know, lifestyle changes, how to feed myself. We did a lot of, you know, alternative things without ever giving up my medication. So it was not one at the expense of the other. It was actually became a beautiful marriage. And you might say that I'm still propped up by that marriage even today. So that's, you know, and by the way, a very quick thing. So my oncologist was very skeptical about all of this. But I went off and I did my treatments, and I saw a lot of also people who helped me, also emotionally, spiritually, all of that stuff, while taking my medication. After 3 months, I went back and saw my oncologist, and we were supposed to prepare for my stem cell transplant. And my cancer was gone. It was gone. Wow. And you know what she said to me, of course, being a good clinician, but now she had become a friend, she said, listen, I don't want to know what you're doing, but just keep doing it, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, day in and day out, you've got to do it. Big round of applause for Lisa Ray. You know, you can go on endlessly in terms of conversations, because there are so many lessons. Every line she said, there is a lesson to be learned. Just like there is a lesson to be learned from the man who was told that he's just got 2 weeks, and that was what, 20 years ago? 2004. So it will be 20 years in 2024. Yeah. You're going to be a parent, and leukemia hits you. And here you are, Anurag Basu. Tell us your story.
Yeah, in a typical Bollywood screenplay, when everything is going right for the main protagonist, you know, there is a twist in the tale waiting for him.
He will
and he will relate, and she will relate. Abhi dukho ka pahar phutega uske upar, aur fir phutta hai. So same thing happened. My film was hit. I was signed, super hit, and I was signed by many producers. My wife was pregnant, and then this happened. And yeah, so I was being treated in a hospital where the doctor said 2 weeks, because I don't blame them, because the line of treatment they were, you know, I was going through is not working on my body. and I was deteriorating every day. Then I got shifted to Tata Hospital, and so it was, I remember when I was shifted to Tata Hospital, and I was actually bleeding buckets of blood that time. Every internal organ were bleeding inside, and when I thought I would die in an ambulance when I was shifted to Tata Hospital, I was so bad. And immediately after Tata Hospital, I reached there, I was taken to ventilator. I was inside the ventilator for 3 weeks, actually, in fact. So, it's nice if you talk about willpower and miracle, I'm here, but actually it's my oncologist, my doctor, because I was senseless. I was in my ventilator. I didn't know what was happening with me. And my family was suffering. My caregiver, my family, my wife, my mother, my father. I was senseless. So I think we all have different paths, different ways to recover. We all are, but bottom line is, the decades of research done by scientists and the doctors, they have made the recovery easier. And I've personally seen my doctors, Dr. Banavli, Dr. Badwe and his team there. Yes. They're amazing people. I've seen them. You know, the day in an oncologist's life is much longer than ours. I believe I'm a workaholic, but they're work fanatic. They are amazing. And it takes, a lot of courage. This, I think, and it's very important for any treatment to have that trust with your doctor. Yeah. And yeah, that was it. And so yeah, first, after the whole, when I came back to the ICU, the first hurdle was over. I was out of ventilator. Yeah, then there was a small fight. The first thing I really wanted, I was not sure how long I'm going to live because my body was saying I'm not well. So I made small target. The first target I made, I want to see my baby's face. Yeah. That's the first thing I told myself. That kept me moving actually. I just really wanted to. So that's how I just.
So 2 weeks became 2 months, 2 months became 2 years, and
yes,
now
absolutely.
It's going to be 20.
All thanks to my doctors and the team, amazing dedicated team of Tata Hospital. I would not take any credit because...
Did you change anything? Kuch badla aapne after that? Did you change anything in your lifestyle, in your approach to life?
Lifestyle तो देख रहे हो आप थोड़ा सा मैं वजन lifestyle बहुत ज़्यादा बदला नहीं, sorry. लेकिन हाँ, मतलब outlook towards life got changed completely. I see life differently now. My movies got changed. The story I tell got changed. अपने आप हो गया ऐसे. It was effortlessly and yeah, actually, what? It never. I embraced cancer very soon. I never questioned. I didn't have that syndrome of why me, why now. That never sinked in actually. That really helped me to recover faster.
Yeah. If you don't get into that self-victimization, self-pity kind of thing, aa gaya, chalo kuch karte hain. Let's do something about it.
Exactly.
But it's not as easy, isn't it, UV? Man of the Series, 2011 World Cup, everything's going for you, start of the moment, and suddenly this entire talk about the diagnosis, I still remember. Not easy. And you've gone further, you've not just beaten it, you've come back, and then you've started UV Can, so it's a lovely journey. But take us through, how did you pull through? Kaise kiya?
Well, first of all, listening to Mr. Basu's story, obviously I heard about it, but when you actually listen to it, you can actually relate to what the person has gone through. And obviously with Lisa, hearing her story, it amazes me that she's done it twice. She fought twice. I would say probably the strongest person in the room right now. I don't think if I would have to go through it again, how would I fight it? So, it's easier said than done. Yes, you don't watch cricket, but I watched a lot of your films and had a big crush on you when I was younger.
I knew this was coming.
I thought it's a cancer event. I shouldn't be saying these things, but I'm an honest guy.
No, but you're not the only one.
Yeah, I'm sure. बाकी लोगों के पास mic नहीं है ना. Mic मेरे पास है तो मैं बोल सकता हूँ. But coming back to being a survivor in the room, being a fighter, I think when you talk about, when I relate to people on the dais, I think it's a fight within, it's a struggle from inside, which only you understand and your family members have gone through. Like Lisa, if I would relate to your husband, probably would be very proud of that guy that he stood by you when he got diagnosed of cancer again. So in our families, you know, my mother has seen me, it's like she's giving me birth twice because she was there through the journey. And as you said, 2011 World Cup, when we won, probably the highlight of my career, we won the World Cup after 28 years. I was, 29 years old. I was probably the peak of my career. I was speaking towards, maybe breaking some more records, but unfortunately, when the doctor told me that I have cancer, I'm like, this guy is definitely not a doctor, because how can I have cancer? I'm an athlete who trains 5-6 hours a day. I eat well. I'm a superior gene, which I'm not. Now I understood that. And life strikes you in a way which you are not expecting. And you realize that you're just another human being. And that obviously I started searching that more than 8 lakh people in India were going through cancer. And then you realize that, it can happen to you. So it took me a while to come to terms with it. And I was playing and I was getting worse. And then eventually my doctor said that you have 3 to 6 months left. Now it's your choice. You want to go on the cricket field, die there, or come and get treated. I was like, I don't mind dying actually, because I don't want to stop playing. That was my biggest fear, and we all have fears. I think the fear of cancer is more than actually going through the treatment, because it scares you for life. And as Lisa said that, she spoke about it, and I thought, when I was hiding away from it, and when I came to terms with it, I was like, this is my time to talk about it. And, be inspiration for people out there that I'm fighting it. I'm sure people in your family are fighting it, and, together we can do this. I mean, that was the whole reason of me coming up with my foundation, that UV Can meant was that we together can fight cancer. That was the reason why I wanted to come back and do something for my society. And, realizing that how cancer is harming our society. So I think through the journey, I got a lot of inspiration out of it, inspired a lot of people. And here I am with the survivors in the room, marching forward.
Let me put this to all of you. I'll start with you, UV, and then Anurag, and then we'll come through to Lisa. What would you peg, because the idea is one screening, the other one is, detection, then you look at treatment. The earlier you detect, the earlier you screen, the better. But in your experiences, what is the one thing, if is changed, you stand a higher probability of beating this disease?
Well, as Anurag said, that your perspective changes of life, and you might look weak from the outside, but you're much stronger from the inside. And obviously, your lifestyle changes. You have to change your diet, and you have to look after your body like a little baby. But the point is that mentally, it definitely makes you stronger. It makes you stronger from inside. And like early on, probably if you break a finger, break a leg, you go through surgery, you're always thinking, why me? And I think after cancer, like, everything becomes very secondary now, because you've gone through such a tough battle in life. Everything becomes like, it's just fever. It's going to subside in 2 days. I broke my leg, probably will fine in a month. So everything looks pretty mediocre. And then your perspective in life changes, that I am ready now for anything in life, whatever comes. And I think that's the kind of inspiration we want to bring out in people who are following you, who listen to you. That if I can come back to where I belonged, I'm sure you can come out from your adversity as well. I think that's the kind of people we've become now.
Did your body change or did your psyche change when you recovered and then you wanted to get back onto the cricket field, right? You wanted to prove to yourself. How difficult was that? Or did you feel that kuch to badal gaya hai? It's going to be tough?
Definitely my body changed, and obviously, put on weight, and I just looked at myself in the mirror. I had no hair. I didn't like the look of it. And I mean, you come to terms with it, and then I want to get back on the field. People said that I won't be able to play again. I came back and played in 6 months. I was not fully fit. I went back to training, went to training for almost a year. Took me a year and a half to get back to full fitness, and it was just mind over matter, and everybody said that he would not be able to play again, and I came back and scored my highest one-day score. So it is you who has to decide your journey, not what people's opinion about you.
But where do you find the strength? Two parts, Anuragji. I want to ask you this. Did you ever think, okay, I've got it, you accepted it. Did you go back and think, how did I get it? Not about why did I get it, how did I get it? And the other aspect is, can everybody really dig deep in their heart and their head, say, all right, I've got it, let me fight this out? It's not that easy as it is to say it.
Yeah, as I said, everybody has their own method to fight it. And yeah, I had that question, why, from where, reasons. I asked everybody, I Googled, I asked my doctors, but nobody knew the real reason why I got that cancer. And I'll tell you my method. I just tell you, I just made small targets for myself because I couldn't get up off the bed, and there was this bench, the stool, which was just 2 feet away. And it took me 1.5 weeks actually to go there and sit there on my own. So that was my first target. I will go there and sit on my own. Then the next was to go to the loo. I wanted to go to the loo myself, so it took me another week. So I created small targets for myself. Then coming out of the hospital, going on set. In fact, Gangster I shot. Everybody told me not to shoot during chemotherapy. I asked my doctor, Dr. Banavli, I said, sir, I'll take all my precautions, let me shoot. And I think I was in Korea, I was shooting that film. And I had all the mask on and everything. And so I shot Gangster during my chemo. And wow. So that was, so I think by working, that kept me away because, it's the only thing, which makes me positive is the work, creative work, thinking of stories, directing. The thing I love, whatever, you love, whatever you're passionate about, put your mind into that. And that becomes easier to fight the disease, actually. I thought I should be going on set and directing movies to fight with it. So that was my method, actually.
So stick to your passion and love your passion to...
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever drives you, whatever makes you happy.
Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, I made a playlist of Kishore Kumar's song because it made me happy. I used to listen to that in hospitals. Whatever made me happy. I did everything, whatever made me happy. And more than that, your caregivers, your people who are close to you also have that mindset. Your mother, your father, your wife, they should have that mindset because, you're looking at their faces every day. They are coming to you. And
that's true. And I wanted to ask you that. Did you ever worry that is the way my husband looks at me, is the way my loved ones look at me, is that going to change? Were you looking for that change in the look? And because that perhaps is the biggest hit on you, right? Because you feel that if they've given up on me, who's going to back me out? Did that worry you?
Yeah, that's a very interesting and good question. See, fortunately, in my second round, I didn't lose my hair, I didn't change physically. I actually improved physically because, of my story of combining my allopathic and my holistic. The first time round, I changed significantly. And, I remember I took a selfie of myself and I started writing a blog.
The Yellow Diaries.
The Yellow Diaries. Yeah, you've done very good research. And, the secret today that I can share is that I actually am a thwarted writer, or now not so thwarted. I'm an accidental actress. I always wanted to be a writer. And, you know, again, when you're dealing with cancer and your mortality, and, you know, you have nothing to lose, you just throw yourself out there, just like what you were saying, Anurag. I realized that I've always loved writing more than anything else, even acting. So I said, how do I get through this? Let me write. So I chronicled my, you know, my experiences in this blog that later on turned into a book, and now I'm writing my next book. And that is, you know, it's ironic that cancer helped me to really commit to a passion that I'd hidden my whole life. So there were unexpected gifts, but of course you have to survive cancer in order to discover them. But I wanted to actually say something, sorry, circle back to something that Anurag had said about, you know, again, the appreciation he was expressing to his doctors and, you know, the medical community. I want to just share that my disease, multiple myeloma, when I was diagnosed in 2009, I was given approximately 5 years to live. And, you know, if you had been diagnosed a decade before me, because I know someone who had been, you were given 1 to 2 years to live. And today, if you are diagnosed with multiple myeloma, it is almost transformed into becoming a chronic disease, as in something that is like diabetes. You know, you take your medication, and maybe it's not fun, perhaps you have to do a stem cell transplant, but there is today so much hope, and the prognosis for patients has been radically transformed. And this we owe a huge debt to the medical community. You know, so I want to thank again all the doctors, all the researchers, everything that goes into extending patients' lives, because I understand what it takes. Research takes many, many years, and then getting a drug to the market takes so many years, and it's really painstaking. And sometimes, perhaps, you know, even great researchers, even doctors might not see the patient at the end of it. So as the patient sitting here, as all of us maybe, we all really want to thank you all for the great work that you do. You know, we're here today because of you. And because of the advancements in the medical community. And, you know, I keep track of things. You know, I make it my business now to keep track of innovations that are coming along in cancer therapies. I know that, for instance, immuno-oncology is huge in blood cancers now, right?
Yes.
There's like huge, incredible hope and promise that's happening in immuno-oncology. So we have to keep talking about that. What we need to do is spread this word of hope. You know, also, not just patients, but I think to society in general. Because I want to share one other little anecdote. You know, I have a very dear friend, and I know that this is quite typical, and she's just been feeling under the weather. And I was with her in Bombay, and I said, you should just go and get yourself checked, you know, just go and check all your markers. And her first reaction was like, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to check anything. And I said, you think that if you don't get tested, somehow you won't know, but like everything will be fine. And, you know, I don't want to judge her, but I just want to highlight this fact is that a lot of us do live in that. Like, I was that person, you know, before I was diagnosed. Now I'm completely transformed, and I'm the first one, like, I will take you by the hand and take you to the doctor, you know, if I really care about you and I want you to get, checked. But I was someone who avoided also doctors and, you know, the medical fraternity as much as possible until the last possible minute. And that's why we need to discuss this, because there's no reason for that fear anymore, because first of all, we're sitting here today. We all have gone through our journeys. They've all been really difficult. But not just that. I mean, again, medicine has evolved so much. And also early detection, really, like we always say, prevention is better than the cure. Right? So that's really what we should be talking about.
Well, time's up for this conversation, but with the promise that we'll continue this through the course, and it doesn't end here. This is just the beginning. Yuvraj, Anurag and Lisa, big round of applause to them. Thank you so much for joining us here on this platform that is Sanjeevani, where we plan to be united against cancer. Thank you very, very much.
Federal Bank and News 18 Network presents Sanjeevani, United Against Cancer.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zakir Jacob. There was an all Karnataka Bandh today called by political parties to protest the Cauvery Water Management Authority's decision to grant water to Tamil Nadu. Karnataka says it's facing a drought here and it cannot release any more water. But this is really not about water. This is about basic governance. You remember 3 days ago, there was this amazing picture that came of Bengaluru city coming to a standstill because there were 3.5 lakh cars on the outer ring road and the government was not able to provide basic infrastructure. It's road that people were asking for, not some fancy out-of-this-world object. Today, the whole city, the whole state in fact, was shut down because of politics and because of